Good morning, Nelson County families, and welcome to the Good morning, Nelson County families, and welcome to the Nelson County Community Brew. My name is Haley Victery, and I'm the principal at Cox's Creek Elementary School. And today we're going to be talking specifically about the virtual learning option. Nelson County Schools is offering two options, in-person and virtual, for the 2020-2021 school year. And we've been connecting with families over the last week to figure out which option is best for them. And today we have a fabulous panel of principals and teachers, students, and district staff members online with you to talk to you about that option. Mr. Jeremy Hill is here, Mr. Curt Merrifield, Kelsey Berryman, and we're going to be talking to you about some of the fabulous things going on in Nelson County schools. I am excited to introduce a teacher this morning from Cox's Creek Elementary School, Miss Amelia Gant. Miss Amelia is a kindergarten teacher at Cox's Creek who really paved the way, especially in primary for our littles. Miss Amelia, do you want to introduce yourself this morning?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amelia Gant, and I'm teaching kindergarten at Cox's Creek, and I just love it. I'm so glad to be here.
We also have a lot of fabulous Foster Heights team members on here with us this morning. Jeremy, are you, go ahead and do you want to introduce your team that you brought with you this morning?
Sure, Haley. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to engage in the conversation about virtual learning in our community. With me today, I have two fabulous people representing Foster Heights. Miss Lydia Fogel is a teacher at Foster Heights, and Miss Hayden Monette is a new student to Foster Heights. So I will let Miss Fogel and Miss Monette introduce themselves. Go ahead, Miss Fogel.
Hi, like Mr. Hill said, I'm Lydia Fogel, and I'm a second grade teacher at Foster Heights, and I'm really excited to join you guys today and engage in some exciting conversation. And Hayden, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, like Mr. Hill said, my name is Katie Monette, and I'm really glad to be here and go to Foster Heights this year, and I'm glad to talk about virtual learning today.
All righty, we also have Mr. Curt Merrifield on here this morning. Curt, do you want to go ahead and introduce your team?
Hey everyone, Curt Merrifield coming in from Thomas Nelson High School. I made sure to bring in some reinforcements, so I got Jenny with me in here in case I get stuck. But I also brought some awesome members from the Thomas Nelson team here. We've got the man, the myth, our workforce leader, Mr. David Mudd. And we also have one of my Care and Connect seniors, Mr. Grant Amshaw. So they don't need any introduction, but you got to anyway. So would you all mind saying a few words?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Hey, I'm Grant Amshaw. I'm going to be a senior at Thomas Nelson High School, as like Merrifield said, I'll be in his Care and Connect. And I look forward to see where this conversation takes us.
David Mudd, Thomas Nelson High School workforce leader, also with Nelson County Schools. Just really excited about and looking forward to learning what this virtual learning will look like. So I think it's a lot of potential for some new beginnings, and that beginner's mind is definitely going to be needed for this upcoming school year. So glad to be here.
So just to kick it off right now, we've got over, looks like close to 150 people on here right now. I'm going to be kind of a disc jockey going through these YouTube streaming and seeing all of our reports right here. We got lots of good mornings, lots of positivity on the feed right now. Let's see here. We've got, let's see here. Cheryl's talking about just the use of technology from last year, learning from there. And we also have Mr. Harrell just saying it's refreshing to see our county schools utilizing tech. I think this Community Brew. It's one of the things that we talk about here at Thomas Nelson. You know, alone you're smart, but together we're brilliant. And man, I'm surrounded by brilliance right now when I look at my screen here. And talking about brilliant, I'm going to send it over now to Miss Kelsey Berryman, who's going to lead us off.
Good morning, Nelson County. I'm Kelsey Berryman. I'm the Director of Innovation for Nelson County Schools. Our schools have been working really hard to put into place some really cool opportunities through virtual learning, and we're excited to kick off the conversation about what this fall could look like if you're choosing virtual. So let's go ahead and jump into our first question. In what ways will virtual learning this fall shift from emergency NTI practices in the spring?
Well, speaking from my experience with virtual learning in March, I started with the approach that I wanted it to be engaging, and I also wanted it to be a way to bring the family together at home. And so I started with just small projects that students can do at home. And it was really engaging, and I think I hit the nail on the head there. But Kaden has taught me a lot this summer because I've been lucky enough to work with her through our summer learning program. And we have started to transform our library and reimagine it into a different type of space where students can check out items if they want to learn how to play the guitar and things, and cooking supplies if we want to bring those into the classroom. And Kaden was given a simple task where she could create an advertisement to get some donations from the community. And Kaden went above and beyond. She reached out to the community herself. And so, Kaden, do you want to share a little bit about how you opened my eyes to that virtual learning could be an experience that does more than just engage and also transforms the community?
Well, I do think that our summer library experience was really cool because we got to brainstorm things. And then when we told the teachers, it was actually happening right before my eyes. And I actually got to really do things that I never thought I could do with virtual learning. I do think you also have more time to do the things. I wouldn't have gotten to be able to do my video if I wouldn't have the time, because it took about several days to do it. So to open your eyes to virtual learning, you really just need to think above and beyond and out of the box.
I think you are so insightful on that, Ms. Kaden, just showing us what an elementary school student can do. I think that's something that we really learned from our kiddos this year, too, is our kinders can, our first graders can, our second graders can. So thanks for sharing that, because that just taught us a lot about how much potential our kids have and how much they can teach us.
And Haley, that kind of segues into a lot of our house tours and SOC members help to lead through our Care and Connects with the virtual learning in the spring. And they came up with some really cool projects, and one of them in particular that I really thought was, we wouldn't have probably done this otherwise, was our Torchlight Ceremony, where our students were symbolically passing their jerseys and symbolically passing just tokens or whatever symbol, and those symbols became very powerful within that Torchlight Ceremony. So we felt like it really was better than probably in person, where they just do the candle, and it was more meaningful. And they had to think about that symbol and what that symbol represented and how they were going to pass that on to the juniors. So, and from my perspective, it was actually a better, the virtual, not always, but that particular time just made us kind of opened up that beginner's mind and began to rethink what the Torchlight Ceremony could be, and it was phenomenal, along with our house pride rally as well. So, Grant, if you want to speak to that, I think you were part of that, or?
Yeah, so last year I was a part of the SOC team. I was the chief financial officer, and this was like a big portion of what we did once we went virtual, is find a way so we could still manage to make magic happen with all the culture stuff that we do at our school. So Torchlight was obviously a big one. So we were just kind of frustrated how the seniors really kind of got kicked off the bus there, not really getting like, didn't get to do what they really was looking forward to towards the end of their senior year. So a group of our members or SOC members were put together in teams, and one team was handled with Torchlight, another team was another team. My team was like planning what we're going to do over the summer. And so the one team that was working on Torchlight, they just had the brilliant idea of trying to get this go virtual with the symbol. I personally passed on a tennis ball from my senior who I had, which was Caleb Dixon, he was in tennis, and I feel like he didn't get to have his tennis sport. So I just felt like that kind of be more symbolic to him. So that's what we went with. And I really liked the virtual, and I feel like it had a deeper meaning because a candle is a candle, but like someone's like maybe like a medal or a certain type of shoot might hold a bigger meaning to somebody. So I really like that element of it. So yeah.
When during our virtual learning, one of the things that we did at Cox's Creek was we had a virtual showcase, and students were able to video their gifts. So I really enjoyed seeing what their gifts were. Not just students that I had in the past, but students that, you know, I see in the hallway and that are maybe really shy at school, and then seeing what they're good at and what they love. I really enjoyed that. It was really funny. We had a family make a skit, and they were in a van and they were running from the po-po. So really seeing their personalities come out was hilarious.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great experiences, it sounds like, from this past school year when we were forced to go virtual. So that's a great segue. Let's look at our next question. Looking to the fall, what are some opportunities you hope will come to life through virtual learning?
We've been talking a lot in the Nelson County schools about, you know, what our priorities are and what we believe is a school. And, you know, many of those things are showcasing our students' gifts and their talents, or, you know, student leadership, you know, laying that foundation for our students. So in a lot of ways, yes, we're having to be creative about it, but when you think about student leadership and students really leading and making that change in their learning, this provides that segue for us to do that. So that's something that I think we're really excited about at Cox's Creek for it.
I'm really excited about finding creative ways to bring in the community more, because the community is so important to the classroom. And this summer we've been able to have a tour of the Nelson County Public Library, and she told us that we saw things that no classroom tour has ever seen because it's just easier virtually. And we're also working with Laura Mann this next week. And so it's really showed me that we are able to still connect with the community. And maybe it might be even easier to connect with the community because sometimes arranging an opportunity to be able to go into the community is a little more difficult with 25 students. But now I think we're going to be able to get really creative. And Kaden even reached out to Mariah Beasley herself and had a virtual meeting and was able to learn from her video program that she uses. So that's really opened my eyes that the community connection is still there. We're just going to have to be creative and intentional about making the connection.
Curt, what's going on in YouTube world over there? Any exciting comments taking place?
Oh, it's exciting over here. We've got lots of comments, lots of people weighing into things. Of course, you know, us leaders are around here, but of course everyone's talking about Grant and Caden right now. We got Mariah Beasley hopping in there saying, I had the pleasure of meeting Caden this week, and she is just she's just as impressive as she seems, a truly creative and engaged young leader. And then we've got Mr. Smith hopping in here too, talking about Grant, saying he was an awesome leader within the SOC as the CFO. Lots of comments about the kids, less about me, Haley, and Jeremy. So that's awesome to hear. It shows that really we're only as strong as the people in the building. The kids are really leading us along. I know I think we can all agree with that one. I think one of the things at Thomas Nelson that we're really looking forward to, and we have our 3 school anchors of Care and Connect, student leadership, and UFO experiences. And that last one, that UFO experience piece, is really just talking about how you continue to embed authentic learning into the curriculum. And I do think that virtual learning offers that ability for not only additional authentic learning to occur, but it also gives leaders the flexibility to kind of collaborate with each other over cross content. You have a little more flexibility to have different leaders that wouldn't work with each other in the past, not because they couldn't, you know, not because they didn't want to, but because you're in your classroom. Now, when you've got this virtual platform, it's a lot easier to, you know, mix some history with some English or some math with some science in there, and get multiple teachers working together with their crew. So I definitely think that's something we can expand upon with virtual learning in the future.
I'm sorry, Curt, I was going to piggyback off that. I think that one of the opportunities I'm most excited about is the ability for our students and families and educators to collaborate virtually with the different virtual platforms that we can utilize. So we really emphasize collaboration as a lifelong skill that our students need, and learning how to utilize technology to collaborate with other people. In a sense, we're able to have students that can work with other students that may not be in their homeroom class at the elementary level through technology platforms. So it really kind of breaks down some walls and allows them more access to their peers. That's an opportunity I'm really looking forward to take advantage of this year.
Jeremy, that kind of segues too with what we met with Ms. Walker from Bloomfield, and she had talked about how we could utilize, elementary school students working with high school students or middle school. So even that cross schools would be with this, again, the virtual platforms would allow that. Since we're more used to it, right? It kind of forced us, but now that we're a lot more comfortable, we feel like that is definitely a possibility that maybe before we wouldn't have maybe thought about it, but now we know it's not that difficult. It's just a matter of planning and setting up your schedule and making it happen.
Over in the chat, we have some questions coming in about virtual learning. We are excited to hear your questions, and as we're planning this, we'd love to get back to you. If you go to welcomebackncs.com, there's a link where you can put in your questions, and then we can get back to you with more specific answers, especially at the school level. But we do want to share that through this virtual learning, we're excited to continue to build meaningful experiences for students, and we don't want those to go to the wayside just because they're learning in a virtual setting. But if you have any specific questions, you can always go to welcomebackncs.com.
And I think leading into that piece that Kelsey just talked about, I think Grant brought up a good piece of that. And Ben in our chat is kind of leading what we've been talking about here. We can learn a lot from our students. That piece that David Mudd brought up about 10 minutes ago about the Torchlight, where instead of passing the candle, they passed a symbol. That was really a relationship between those two. I mean, that was created by the students. That wasn't anything we had thought of. We've run Torchlight for 8 years now as leaders, and it just took 1 year of letting the students run it to where you've got this whole new tradition. So I'd kind of love to hear either Grant or Kate, what are some opportunities you maybe see with virtual learning this fall versus what you experienced in the spring?
So for me personally, I would really enjoy to hear, see more person-to-person, student-to-student interactions. Because I know last year in the spring, we just kind of got thrown into this to where all of our classes, we just went to the class, listened to the teacher, did the work, and then went on to the next class. But I'd like to see, just me personally, because I didn't get the chance to really talk to some of my friends because they only had a Chromebook or something like that. And I feel like we just kind of lost a lot of personal connection and a lot of kind of bonds that you will have in a normal setting at school. And I feel like just be really helpful just to have the times where we can just come with our friends and basically bond and spend some time together.
I think we all just learned a lot from you, Mr. Grant. Like, I'm taking notes as you write or as you share with us, just because I think, virtual is different, but I think we know, especially after this COVID experience, that relationships are key. Like, they're the most crucial. And I think as principals and as teachers and as leaders in our community, we have to make sure that the relationship piece is not lost, and that you or any student who's virtual is still connected to their peers, because that's so important.
I want to say that something that I am excited to see come to life this year is teacher creativity. Last year when this started, I remember talking to Haley and being like, what are we going to do with these kindergartners with this technology? So what we came up with is every day the students had a Google slide presentation, and within that we did the phonics dance at Cox's Creek. So we did the alphabet and the hunks and chunk chants, and we put sound boxes in there so students could still be practicing that every day. I know that I personally, I read Junie B. Jones to my kids every day, and we love Junie B. Jones. So that's something that I didn't want for us to lose. So I would record myself reading the chapters so they could still listen, and that could still be something that we did together that was kind of the same. And then I made some interactive slides where kids, where they would, whatever they were working on, they were moving things and it being engaged. And Kelsey Berryman was actually my coach last year. And at the end of the year, we were having our meeting, and she asked me, what I feel like how I grew this year. And I told her technology, but I don't think that I wouldn't have said that if we didn't go through what we went through. So it's definitely the teachers as well as everybody else grew, but I'm really excited to see where we can go this year.
Ms. Kent, I think that brings up a great point, and it's a segue into our last question too. You talk about the teacher creativity and the work that you all really engaged in deeply to try to provide the experiences we want for our students and families. So thinking through our last question, as we're building a vision for virtual learning, what ways can we support educators and families in virtual school?
I know one of the things that I've kind of thought of is for that virtual, for whoever those virtual teachers are, I know we haven't really figured out exactly how it's going to look. We're still waiting on numbers. But in the primary, if we have like a K1 teacher or K1-2, I really don't want those teachers to feel like they're on an island all by themselves. So I feel like we need to make sure that we're collaborating with them, that we're there with them, that we're sharing resources. I also think we need to make sure that curriculum maps and pacing guides are in place so that if students decide to go virtual and then in person or in person virtual, they're not missing out on anything.
I think that's a great point, Ms. Emily, when you think about the fluidity of this. Like, the truth is, like, there is a lot of unknown right now. Like, at this point where we are in person and virtual, but things are ever changing. So just, I think, being prepared for what might come and just having our school be ready to provide whatever options families need when they need it. I think that's awesome.
I also think it's always important to consider the families. And I know when I was planning, I was very intentional about not wanting to cause any tensions at home. Sometimes when you send home homework, it's a big tension at home. It causes arguments and, things like that. You know how homework is at home. So when I planned my virtual learning back in March, it was to create board games with your family, to play board games with their family. And I had a lot of parents message me and saying that it was a lot of fun and it brought them together in a time and it forced them to kind of socialize with their siblings if they maybe didn't want to. And so I really think it's important to make sure that we're not a tension at home, but we're bridging the family together. And so I think that would just take some planning that is very aware of our community and their family members.
I think keeping the lines of communication open, communication's key, and clarity is going to be key for this too. One thing I really enjoyed over summer so far is last week, all the leaders in our building, really throughout the district, all the leaders from not the whole district, were calling every single family, reaching out to them to learn a little bit about how their spring went, learn a little bit about any needs or questions they had as the district rolled out the plan for coming back to schools in the fall. And it was great to hear from my families. I learned a lot, like Haley was talking about earlier, just writing notes after note after note and just becoming smarter based off of what our family said. And I think David Mudd can attest to that too. I just really enjoyed those conversations and learned a lot about what it could look like in the fall.
I think for me, and I know a lot of our staff members last week, that was one of my favorite parts of the week, just getting to reconnect with families. And I love the way that our district does that through a phone call, just because it's more personal and every family situation is different. And we truly do need to understand what they're going through at this time and what their needs are. So I agree, Curt. I think we learned so much from that. I think we have just a few minutes left on our Community Brew. Does anybody have any closing comments or final thoughts that they want to share? Curt, anything that you want to share from YouTube world?
Yes, sorry, I was reading through YouTube World right now. The comments are flowing in, lots of positivity out there. Let's see what we've got here. I gotta just scroll up. There's been so many comments on here. Let's see here. Miss Amelia's getting a lot of love on here. Miss Amelia's awesome. I agree. Miss Amelia rocks. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Miss Mayer did as amazing job as she could being interactive with the group, as well as did some individual interactions with the kids. Miss Mayer is amazing! Exclamation point. Also, we've got some families out here just talking about Nelson County schools in general, the entire district. Just being blessed to be part of the Nelson County schools community. Wouldn't want to be a part of any other school system in the state. I think that is a testament, though. You know, this county is only as strong as the leaders in there, but really it's the community that supports us. We're only able to do what we're able to do based off the support of our students and our parents and our community members. We can't be siloed off. I think the school is just an extension of the community itself. So our strength as a school district is definitely a representation of our strength as a community. So I want to shout out the over 163. We eclipsed 150 now. We're getting close to 200. That'd be pretty awesome. Yes, I think just showing up here 8:30 in the morning to be part of this virtual community, I think it says a lot about what we're building here as a school district and also the foundation of support we have as a school system. So this is me giving a little gratitude to all the community members out there in the YouTube world. Thank you all.
I'd like to shout out Miss Monette. It takes a lot of courage to be on a Google Meet or the Community Brew, so thank you for your courage.
I also want to give a shout out to Miss Beasley for helping me with my video, and I'm really excited to be able to experience virtual learning and do more projects like we've been doing this summer.
Well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today on the Community Brew. We're going to go ahead and close out. Next week on the Community Brew, we are going to be talking about school safety and giving an overview of classrooms and buses and some of that information that I know families are wanting to know. So thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend. See you guys later.